In this video, I would like to explain how to create the schemas and the tables. Many database objects can be created at least using two ways. The first one is using SQL statements, and the second one is using a graphical user interface or GUI. So let me show you how to do that, how to use those two ways to create the schemas and the tables. Okay. By the way, schema is a collection of database objects, including the tables. So it's kind of similar to a folder in a Windows operating systems. So you can have many files in one folder. In database systems, you can have many tables in one schema. Alright, so let's try to create several schemas and then also delete them. Okay, the first way is using SQL statements. Alright, so let's do that. How about create a schema? How about accounting? Okay, and if you want to execute this statement, can you see that? Execute. Okay, and then they'll say command completed successfully. So always you need to check whether that is actually done as said here. Okay, so go to security, go to your database. Okay, in my case it's a DB lecture. In your case you have to go to your own database. So go to security and schemas. Okay, and then we have accounting, right? Cool. So now let's have one more. Create a schema of HR. Okay. In this case, when you have many SQL statements, you need to actually select a statement for execution. Okay. So let me select this statement and then execute it. Okay. And so let's make sure it's actually done. So go to schemas, right mouse button, refresh. Can you see that? Refresh. So should be there. Can you see that? HR. So we have accounting and HR. Okay. Also, let me show you how to create a schema using GUI, or graphical user interface. Okay. Go to schemas, right mouse button. Can you see that? New schema. Okay. And the schema name. How about finance? Okay, and we can skip this owner. Okay, and then we have finance. Alright, so once you create it, sometimes you may want to delete it because you don't need it. So how to delete a schema? One way is just go to go to the schema, right mouse button. Can you see that? Delete. Okay. And then they'll ask you, okay, and say okay, and it's done. Or if you want to do it using SQL statement, you can do that this way. So instead of a delete, it's actually drop schema. Okay, how about counting? Okay, and you select it and execute it, and then you go back to schemas. Refresh it, and there's no accounting. Accounting is gone. Alright, so that's how you create schemas. Alright. Okay, now let's create a table. Okay, so let's go to our database and tables and click right mouse button and new table. Can you see that? Alright. And then you're going to have this editor window and also properties window. For some reasons, you may not have this properties window shown on your screen. Say in that case, you should be able to make it happen using the view and the properties window. Okay, so let me show you. So if you somehow close it or if somehow doesn't show up, just go to view At the last one, the properties window, okay, and you have it over here. Alright, so let's create a table. Let's give a name. Well, this is just a practice, so let's give a name, let's say emp1, okay, and the schema, let's create that on the HR, okay, which we just created. If you don't have it, why don't you create this schema first, okay. Alright, so let's make it simple. How about empid, okay, and the data type. By the way, we'll talk about the various data types for columns in class. So for the time being, let's just choose the data type, and then we'll talk about that during the lecture. Okay, so let's choose int. Int means integer. Okay. How about first name? Okay. Let's choose a n varchar, and this number shows how many characters you can have a maximum. So I don't know, you can choose whatever you want. So how about 15? I think that should cover most people. Okay, how about last name? Okay, so how about n varchar? Well, the last name can be longer, so how about 25? I think that should be okay. And then how about salary? Okay, well, salary, obviously number, or could be money. If it is available, well, it is available, so let's choose money. Alright, so and also every table should have a primary key. Primary key is a column or multiple columns which has or have the unique value. Okay, so we're going to use empid as a unique identifier. Alright, so choose that column, okay, empid, and then can you see that little key icon? And if you move your cursor slowly, it will show you like a set primary key. Alright, so click it. Can you see that? empid. Alright, then this one is a primary key. Alright, so okay, let's make sure we have table name emp1 emp-1, okay, and the schema hr, okay, so everything looks okay. Alright, and then you say save it. Okay, can you see that diskette icon? So like a save. Alright, save it. Alright, so looks pretty okay, but always you have to confirm. So go back to your database and click right mouse button. Can you see that? Refresh. Okay, so click that refresh button, and then we have oh yeah, well actually you can just refresh the tables. Okay, so we have it. Okay, so go to the table. You can find all the columns we just defined. Okay, can you see that? empid as a PK. PK stands for primary key. Alright, so we created a table, first table, using graphical user interface. So this is very convenient, but also at the same time, we may need this data definition later. Okay, so let's try to get a SQL statements for this table. So go to this table, hl.emp-1. Okay, so right mouse, click the right mouse button. You see that script table as, and create to a new query editor window. So now you actually have a SQL statements looking like this. Okay, so this is actual the SQL statement creating a table. So for some reasons, if you lose your original definition, this table, you can always execute this one to create a table. So let me show you. So for some reason you lost this table, so let's delete it first. Okay, so delete, Okay, alright. And then as you can see over here, no tables. Well, don't worry about that. As far as you have a SQL statements available, you can always execute it. Alright, and go back to tables and then refresh it. Aha! So you have this table back. So it's always good to have a SQL statements available. Alright. Okay, so now we create a table. So let's enter the data. Alright, again there are two ways of doing it. One is using SQL statements. Another one is using GUI. So let's do both. Okay, so let's create a let's have a new query window. Can you see that? A new query. We have a clean sheet of editor. So let's enter the data first. Okay, so to do that, SQL statement is called the insert. Okay, so insert into our table. You can type that up, or you can just click this one and drag it and drop it there. Okay, and then you have to specify the column names. Okay, so empid first name, okay, L name, okay, and salary and values. Okay, so we can have let's say 101 and John Smith, okay, have 50,000. Okay, let's have a couple more. Well, instead of typing the whole thing, let me make a copy. And actually you don't have to have a semicolon. Okay, again a empid has to be unique, so make sure you enter a different one. Okay, how about Nancy, Johnson, 6, and Steve Smith, about 55. Okay, so now you can execute that. Can you see that? Execute. So it looks cool. So if you want to see the data you entered, remember this one. We'll talk about this select statement very much in detail later, but for the time being, why don't you remember this simple statement? Okay, so select star. Star means everything. Okay, from the table. Okay, so in our case, this guy. Alright, so let's select this one. Only this statement. Without that, if you execute the whole thing, you're gonna have an error. Okay, so let's choose this one. So we have a 101, 102, 103. Okay, so this is entering. This is one way of entering the data, and another way would be using GUI. Alright, so let's go to a table. Right mouse button. Can you see that? Edit top 200 rows. Okay. Alright, so let's enter some data. 104. Tom Clancy, 100,000. 105. Hillary Thompson, 120,000. Okay. By the way, can you see this red dot? Okay. This red dot will disappear when you move to the next line. Okay. See. So this thing is we call committed. So you don't need to save anything like that. Once you enter data and move to the next row, they will be automatically committed. So it's more like a saving, but it's not exactly the same thing. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, so for the time being, don't worry about that. Okay, so let's go back to our previous editor window. So now let's execute this one again. And we have a 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. Okay. Another way of getting this one is go back to a table. Okay. Click the right mouse button. Can you see that? Select top 1000 rows. Okay. So you can see the same thing this way. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at what we just did. Alright, so in our case, in this case, we enter the employee ID one by one, like 101, 102, 103, and so on. But this is actually very impractical. When you think about that, you don't want to just give the ID like that manually. So probably the better way of giving an emp ID or unique emp ID should be let the machine get the unique IDs. Okay, so alright, so let's create a new table, and then think about how we're going to ask the machine or database management system, in this case a SQL Server, automatically provides a unique value for primary key, in this case emp ID. Alright, so let's go to table. Let's create a new table. Alright, click the right mouse button, new table. Okay, so how about emp2? So emp-2, let's create under the HR, just like what we did. Okay, so let's use the same name, emp ID. Okay, integer. You can just type int, then they will find the right data type. Okay, you can, and then we have fname, I think. Okay, and then we have nvarchar. Okay, we chose 15, and the lname. Okay, I think we chose 25. Okay. And the salary, I think we chose money. Alright, so everything so far so good, so far the same, but we want to let the machine to provide a unique number for employee IDs. Okay, so to do that, select that column, emp ID column, and then go to column properties. Okay, can you see that? And then find a can you see that identity specification? Okay, identity specification. So how about, so click that, and then they will open it, and then one of the sub menu item is identity. Okay, currently no, so let's choose yes. Okay, so we'll say yes. Okay, and then you can start from increment. How about 101? That's how we started it previously. So you can start from 101. I'm sorry, the increment is I think we use increment to 1, like 101, 102, and CD is 101. Okay, alright, and then just make sure you choose this one as a primary key, just like we did previously. Alright, so exactly same as emp1, but only difference is this time we're gonna let the machine provide the emp ID automatically. Okay, so make sure you save it. Okay, go back to table and refresh it. So now we have emp2. Okay, so let's create a let's enter the data and see how it goes. Okay, can you see the edit? As you can see over here, this one is grayed out. Okay, so even if you want to enter the data, you cannot. Okay, So Tom Johnson, salary. Okay, you can just tap it, and then you can have Nancy. Okay, Thompson. Okay, and so on. And then if you move to the next row, automatically populate that. Okay, how about Jane, Tarzan? Okay. All right. So let's go to the this table and then see what types of data we entered. Can you see that? Select top 1000 rows. All right. So 101, 102, 103, done with all the data. So probably this is a more practical way of designing a table so that you don't have to worry about the unique ID for each employee. Okay, now let's enter data using SQL statement, SQL insert statements. Alright, so I just copied the previous data entry statements and then change them a little bit. Okay, so as you can see over here, so we are entering the data into EMP2, and then note there's no EMP ID columns specified here. Also, there is no EMP ID over here. Okay, so let's select them and then execute. Okay, and then let's see how it goes. So all the EMP IDs are automatically now provided by the SQL server. Alright, so you don't have to worry about whether you gave a correct unique employee ID for new employees. Alright. Another way of entering a unique value is using sequence, using a database object called a sequence. Alright, so let's just do it and see how it goes. Okay, so a syntax for creating a sequence is, well, what else? Create a sequence, and then a schema name, and then sequence name. So sequence name or any database object name better be descriptive. Okay, so we'll say empid underscore sequence, and start with let's say 200. Okay, and increment by how about 1. Okay, so let's do that. So it looks fine. So always make sure you actually create the sequence or any database object correctly. So go to your database and go to programmability. Okay, and then one of them is called the sequences. Can you see that? Okay, and then click the right mouse button and refresh. Okay. So now we have a hl.empid underscore sequence. Okay, so let's check what kind of data, what data we have in EMP1 table. Okay, so we have 101 all the way to 105. Okay, so now let's create let's enter the data using this sequence object. So we have actually the exactly same insert statement we used to before for EMP1. Okay, only difference is we are using sequence object to enter the EMP ID. So syntax is next value 4. Okay, next value 4, and then the sequence name. Okay, so let's enter how about 4 of them. Okay. Cool. So let's look at the data we have. So we have 200, 201, 202, 203, all the way from Abe Lincoln to Ashley Lincoln. Okay. If you want to know the current value of any sequence object, you can use this statement. So basically select a current value, okay, from this table sys.sequence, where name is empid underscore sequence. Okay, so if you look at our previous the data, so we used until 2 or 3. Okay, so this one, the current value should be 2 or 3. Okay, so let's take a look. So 2 or 3. Cool. Another way of getting a current value for any sequence object is just go to a table and go to the sequence object and click the right mouse button. Can you say properties? Okay, and it shows a current value of 2 or 3. Okay. Alright, so now we know how to create tables. So let's talk about how to delete tables. Okay, so there are 2 ways as usual. So if you want to, so let's try to delete these 2 tables we just created. Okay, so if you want to delete table, actually drop table, and the table name. Okay, gone. So let's refresh it and see how it goes. So emp1 is now gone. Okay, and another way of doing that is just do it graphically. Just select the table you want to delete and click the right mouse button, and can you see that delete? Okay, and then execute. Okay, so now it's gone. Alright, okay,